correct. With that, let's bring in our panel. Harris Faulkner, anchor of the Faulkner Focus, co-host of Outnumbered. The Five co-host, Jessica Tarlov, and Larry Kudlow of Fox Business. Harris, what do you think? I mean, the statement itself, obviously the reaction to it with garbage truck and all.
You know, let me say this first. There's been a lot of question about whether this really matters as much as the original garbage conversation that a comedian had on stage at Madison Square Garden. That was a comedian. Almost nobody knew who he was. They couldn't even make the connection with Tom Brady's roast. They didn't remember him, apparently. This is a sitting president of the United States saying that half the voting public is garbage. That's different. That's bigger. And to me, it has legs different from deplorables because of the timing of it, the last 7 days or so in the election process, with a candidate we don't know that much about, his vice president. And now he's starting to try to define the opposition with words like that, kind of stepping not on her, but over her. Disrespectful. She has to talk it back. He's taken some of the shine out of her closing arguments. I mean, it's a lot. And I think it matters because he's the current president.
It was, Jessica, clean up on aisle 5 numerous times today. This is the White House. Corinne Jean-Pierre.
Just to clarify, he was not calling Trump supporters garbage, which is why he put out, this is why he wanted to make sure that we put out a statement that clarified what he meant and what he was trying to say.
What do you think?
It's the hardest working apostrophe of the campaign, for sure. Listen, it's obviously suboptimal. And that it happened at the same time that she was giving this incredible speech. It's 75,000 people that turned out to see her do this. She managed to thread the needle between protecting democracy and talking about her opportunity economy, and also olive branching to some of the same people who might have been offended by that comment. I do think with just 6 days left in the game that most people know what they're doing anyway. And for those who are going to be outraged or deeply offended by this, they were people who thought that Democrats think that about them anyway, people who might still be sore from the 2016 deplorables comment. And for the actual persuadables, we know what they're interested in. They want to hear about the economy. They want to know what your plans are for immigration. So I don't think it's going to have that much of resonant value for the rest of it. But, you know, don't vote for Joe Biden. But good news, his name isn't on the ticket. Kamala Harris's name is at the top of the ticket now.
This is the last thing, Larry. I want to play this media reaction to both the comedian and how much it got a lot of focus, and then the garbage comment from President Biden.
We don't like what was said about Puerto Rico, and we know how to take the trash out, Donald Trump.
Overt Nazi parallels that they are cultivating and this extremism.
These are mini January 6 rallies. These are mini Stop the Steal rallies.
Yesterday, Joe Biden said something off the cuff while he was on the on phone call, and then later on corrected that.
I don't understand why he's walking that back, because I mean, based off the examples he gave, like if you are a person who supports those examples that he gave, you are garbage.
I mean, this goes to Harris's point, Larry, about the coverage of it and kind of trying to pick up for President Biden.
Oh, yeah, the longer. Look, you're 6 days away. This is garbage talk. This is trash talk. This is not what any Democrat would want. And they're just going to keep going at it. And so whatever message Kamala Harris has is going to be completely buried by this. So it couldn't happen at a worse time. I do agree with Harris. I think it's a lot worse than the deplorables. But look, I just want to make this larger point, if I may. I think the Democrats are completely barking up the wrong tree. I think Kamala Harris and her campaign barking up the wrong tree. They're attacking Trump. That's all they're doing. They're not trying to make any space between Joe Biden. The country does not want a third Biden-Harris term, a second Biden-Harris term. They do not want that. But they're not making that case. That is not what Kamala is saying. She doesn't have a mind of her own. She doesn't have a policy of her own. What little she has been met derisively, actually, by a lot of economists. But my point is, okay, you want to call Trump Hitler, you want to call him fascist, you want to all that. You want to go back to the threat of democracy, January 6th. Those are, at this point today, losing issues.
Quickly,
big
you mentioned
time.
the economy.
Losing issues.
Yeah, you mentioned the economy. There was good news for the Biden-Harris administration on the economy. U.S. economy grew 2.8% the third quarter. Slightly slower than expected amid easing inflation, strong consumer spending. But a lot of people looked at that roughly as a good sign. How do you see it? I
think it's a decent sign. I don't have a problem with it. But I don't think it's germane to the election. The problem here in the economy for the last 4 years is the affordability crisis. And there's a study out, again, this past week.
And we got the battleground state inflation we can put up as you're talking.
Private wages, not government wages, private wages adjusted for inflation, okay, have dropped over 10% during these last 4 years. And if you want to buy a house, all in, insurance, borrowing costs, the price of the house, you're up about 70%. If you want to buy a car, all in, buy the car price, gasoline, insurance for the car, that's up about 70%. This is never about GDP. You can't go into a grocery store and buy some GDP.
Yeah.
But you go into a grocery store with your take-home pay, the money that's actually in your pocketbook or your wallet, or you're going kitchen table. Here, they're trash talking each other in the last 6 days, not talking about any of this. I find it extraordinary.
And
literally trash talking.
You look at these polls out tonight, the likely voters in these 3 states, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's within 1 point.
All right. So what I noticed for a couple of those states, and you know, if you look at third-party contributions in those states, and I know that RFK Jr. was working to try to get his name off the ballot in Wisconsin and Michigan, and it works for Trump's favor if he could do that. But when you look,
and they lost, and he's going to be on the ballot.
And he lost, and so in Michigan, which is one of those places, the third party plays as a spoiler for Trump in Michigan. The third party, which they call others in our Fox News poll, gets 5% of the vote, and that causes him to be in a deficit. It's all within the margin of error, but it goes from him maybe even being tied to down a bit. I would say this: Americans are having to adjust their big dreams under this economy. That's what you're talking about. It's not that more jobs don't get this or that, but they're having to adjust, and not positively.
Adjust too, because the countdown is on.
Trump's on the offense. Kamala's on the defense. There's no two ways about that.
She's cutting into his lead on the economy in every single battleground state.
You're such a good panel. I don't want to leave you, but I have to leave. 7 o'clock is coming. Tomorrow on Special Report.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.